An effort to recall a Joplin City councilman is on pause after a, quote, productive conversation. I'm Samantha Walker, and I'll have that story coming up.
Plus, a Kansas City firefighter paramedic is killed in the line of duty after he was stabbed while transporting a patient, and the suspect now faces first-degree murder charges.
9 days of mourning are underway while cardinals plan the conclave to select the next pope. In Rome, I'm Alex Hogan. I'll have more on this story coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
An effort to recall a Joplin City councilman started earlier this month is now on pause. This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. The decision comes as the parties involved say they've sat down for a meeting that was, quote, largely positive and productive. KOAM's Samantha Walker has the details.
Just a few weeks ago, Joplin City Councilman Ryan Jackson was at the center of a citizen recall effort following a series of controversial comments about transgender people. In these comments, Jackson refers to gender dysphoria as a mental illness and says people push the ideology on mentally unhealthy people and impressionable children. When we previously spoke with Jackson, he emphasized that he was entitled to his opinion and freedom of speech. A petition to remove Jackson from his council seat was started by Jomo Pride founder Ron Birch. In our previous report, Birch said in a statement the petition is, quote, not due to a singular incident, but a culmination of issues since councilmember Jackson took office. But now organizers of the recall effort say they're putting a pause on active efforts following a meeting with Jackson where he was, quote, respectful, listened to their concerns, and eager to learn, and took accountability for his words on social media. In a statement, Birch says, quote, Mr. Jackson has agreed to be more cautious and thoughtful with his words about the LGBTQ community and public forums going forward, and has said if any issues arise, his door is open to work through them. Councilman Jackson tells KOAM that emotions got too high early on, and they should have sat down for a conversation from the very beginning. He adds, quote, at the end of the day, we are going to have different opinions. We can just agree to disagree. That's the world we live in. Birch says humility and respectfulness go a long way to diffuse any situation. Organizers say, in good faith, they'll be suspending all formal petition events and will be stepping back at this time. Organizers of the Recall Ryan Jackson campaign say they aren't withdrawing the petition, and it will remain active as a way to hold Jackson accountable in the future if needed. Reporting in the studio, Samantha Walker, KOAM News.
Well, authorities charge an Oklahoma man in connection with a fatal UTV crash, which took the life of a 9-year-old boy. Douglas Allen Gray is charged with DUI following the fatal incident, which happened last week in Ottawa County on South 490 Road. Now, according to Oklahoma Highway Patrol, Gray was driving a 2018 Can-Am Defender, and there were 3 other passengers in the vehicle, and none of the passengers were injured. A deceased boy, an elementary school student from Commerce from Miami, is listed as a pedestrian. The boy was flown med-flight to a hospital in Tulsa where he was pronounced deceased. OHP are continuing to investigate what occurred. Well, it was a very messy situation on I-44. Oklahoma troopers say a semi-truck carrying 40,000 pounds of strawberries crashed near the McDonald's above I-44. The crash closed all lanes of traffic as the semi ran into the median, pushing it into the eastbound lanes. The driver, who had fallen asleep, was not injured. Well, some drivers in Newton County should look for a detour both tomorrow and Wednesday. MoDOT crews will begin work on pipe replacement on County Route AA between Goldfinch Road and Heron Drive, just southwest of Neosho. Route AA lanes will be closed during work hours from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Well, meteorologist Lindsay Gaffney joins us now with a first look at weather.
Well, we do still have a slight severe risk for storms tonight if they do end up firing up. Now, we've got an elevated risk for tornadoes, hatch zone for hail, which means a significant threat for hail out on the Kansas side, and then an elevated risk for winds as well. But we don't have a lot going on right now. We've got a few clouds in the area, a couple of thunderstorms trying to push into the area, but really we're holding off storms in our area because we've got pretty nice cap on our atmosphere, which means there's kind of a lid to instability on our atmosphere, meaning nothing's going to fire up. Now, we've got a dry line that's pushing through tonight. That's causing storms up near Kansas City. It's also causing storms out in southern parts of Oklahoma, mostly just a severe thunderstorm threat. But then we also have a cold front right behind that dry line. That's going to be pushing in late tonight after midnight, closer to about 3 a.m., dropping tornadoes, severe thunderstorm warnings. So that's all going to be moving in later on tonight, where we could see the potential for some strong storms as we start our morning off Tuesday morning. But I'm going to have a look at your forecast coming up.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. Well, authorities in Galena are investigating a burglary at a pawn shop. They responded to a report of a broken front door at the shop this morning and saw a possible suspect running from the area on Main Street. Authorities recovered that suspect's vehicle a short time later in Cherokee County. And they say it was stolen from Joplin. Police say the suspect stole approximately 8 guns from the pawn shop. The Galena PD and the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office are investigating the case. First responders in Kansas City mourn the passing of one of their own. As Chandler Watkins reports, the community is dealing with the loss of life of a lifesaver who had his own life taken.
It is with heavy heart and great sorrow that I announce the death of firefighter paramedic Graham Hoffman. Firefighter Hoffman was stabbed in the chest, piercing his heart while transporting a patient to a local hospital on what started out as a routine call.
Outside North Kansas City Hospital, Kansas City leaders spoke on Hoffman's death. He was 29 years old and had been with the department since 2022. Mayor Quentin Lucas says Hoffman died senselessly while serving his community.
This should not happen. This should not have happened. There are a lot of things that have happened since I became mayor a few years ago. I never expected a line of duty death like this one. You never expect a violent criminal incident to bring this amount of pain to a community and a family. This is wholly unacceptable.
A procession of first responders took Hoffman from the hospital to the KCK Medical Examiner's office. In Liberty, the Clay County Prosecutor's Office unveiled felony charges against the alleged suspect, Shanetta Bossel, including murder in the first degree and armed criminal action. Prosecutor Zach Thompson says Bossel is the same woman who bit a KCPD officer several times last week after he tried to stop her from tampering with his car.
When we filed the initial charge and requested a warrant, and it was granted, the judge in that case, as in all criminal cases, reviewed the circumstances, determined the appropriate bond. In that case, bond was set at $10,000 and the defendant posted that bond.
Bossel is now back in custody. Her bond has been set at $1 million.
If convicted, Bossel could spend the rest of her life behind bars. Well, over the next several weeks, some registered voters in Oklahoma will receive an address confirmation notice from the state election board. The notices are required by state law to confirm whether voters still live at their address on file with their county election board. Voters who receive an address confirmation notice have 60 days to respond. Now, voters who do not respond and confirm their address within the allotted time period will be designated as inactive and are required by law to be removed from the voter rolls if they don't vote during or before the 2028 general election. If you get a notice, the state says the easiest way to respond will be online. Well, coming up, a 3-day ceasefire.
Vladimir Putin calls for a temporary ceasefire in Ukraine. I'm Caroline Shively in Washington. I'll have that story coming up.
But up first, in Health Watch, with warmer weather arriving, mosquitoes are coming out, and so is a deadly threat they carry. What experts say you need to know about the risk of malaria. Some scientists say it's time to start learning about the dangers of malaria and what you can do to prevent spreading. Fox News' Ted Linder has more.
Warmer weather across the U.S. is bringing some insects out of hibernation, as well as the diseases they carry with them.
Malaria is an infectious parasitic disease that's transmitted by species of mosquitoes, and it impacts the health of millions of people around the world.
The World Health Organization says malaria is a preventable and curable disease, but it can also lead to life-threatening symptoms.
It causes a number of deaths, hundreds of thousands of deaths every year.
Professor Catherine Hill at Purdue University says research has helped drastically decrease the number of malaria deaths from 1.5 million a year to under 500,000 a year. but the trend could be reversing.
And that's because we're in a constant arms race with the mosquito for control, and we sometimes lose our ability to control malaria by controlling the mosquito.
Most of the world's malaria cases tend to come from tropical climates in Asia, South America, and Africa. But the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says the U.S. sees around 2,000 cases a year.
These are cases that are typically acquired by travel. We've also started to see some local transmission of malaria, which is a concern because that means the local populations of mosquitoes have become infected.
Hill says the rise of infected mosquitoes in the country signals the need for more control and prevention, as well as increased public involvement.
You can become involved in fundraising efforts and volunteer efforts through a number of different philanthropic organisations to support research and public health efforts around the world.
Ted Lindner, Fox News.
Well, young adults are driving a dramatic decrease in smoking. University of California, San Diego researchers found states with historically high smoking rates have seen the biggest declines. But the progress is not as fast for adults over 50, which could delay reductions in smoking-related diseases and deaths. Researchers project the national smoking rate will be under 5% by 2035, compared to around 57% in 1955. Well, research out of Sweden and Harvard University finds a simple blood test measuring 2 lipoprotein markers can give more accurate information about the risk of heart disease compared to cholesterol levels. Lipoproteins carry cholesterol and other fats through the blood. Researchers say in about 1 in 12 patients, standard cholesterol test may underestimate the risk of heart disease. And this new type of testing could improve accuracy and potentially save lives. Well, the more ultra-processed foods you eat, the more your risk of premature death rises. That's according to a new meta-analysis of research involving more than 240,000 people. It's estimated nearly 70% of all food in grocery stores in the United States is ultra-processed. According to the study, the U.S. has the highest level of ultra-processed food consumption in the world. It's more than half of the average American's diet. However, an official with Consumer Brands Association, which represents the food industry, says the new study is misleading. It was published today in the American Journal of Preventive Medicine. Well, Lindsay's next with a complete look at your forecast, and later hundreds of pounds of fresh produce given away for free in Carterville. Find out how a local church and food pantry teamed up to make sure nothing went to waste.
For the arts.
Well, we are tracking severe weather across the plains. Let's go ahead and take a look outside. We can look at our current radar. So as you see, we've got severe thunderstorm warnings. We've got tornado warnings up and down the plains. Now, 2 different fronts are driving all of these storms. So down in our central and southern plains, we've got that dry line that's pushing in. Now the dry line is what's forcing the storms near Kansas City to fire up, giving us a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings. And then these isolated cells ahead of the dry line also firing up, and those are isolated, so we're looking at more of a tornado threat out there. But our area has a pretty significant cap, meaning that there is a lid to the severe weather potential in our area, at least through tonight. Now the cap will start to break apart as we get into tomorrow morning because of our cold front that pushes into the area. Now that cold front's going to be strong enough to break through any cap. As you can see, we've had quite a few tornadoes actually firing off up in Minnesota, now in Wisconsin and Iowa. You can see how that cold front's starting to push further south as our dry line just kind of sits out there. Now we've had the cold front driving line of storms up in the northern plains. You can see tornado warnings. A couple have been confirmed on the ground, and then our dry line pushing a few of those thunderstorms near our area, not quite in our area, but those are going to start to push in a little bit later tonight once that cold front continues to push in as well. So you can see how these storms are just firing up right along that dry line, not really moving anywhere and also not strengthening anymore. But that's the potential that we've got for severe weather tonight. However, you can take a look outside downtown Joplin right now. Pretty windy out there, but no rain yet. We're holding off until most likely midnight and on to about 3 a.m. That's our window to start to see some of these storms push in. And then those storms continue all morning and in fact all day tomorrow. So we can go ahead and look at our future track. All right, so we've been watching this little storm, as you can see, starting to push off. Now as that cold front pushes in and overtakes that dry line, those storms are going to break apart a little bit, and then more storms will form along the cold front. Once we have a lot of energy built up here, so once that cold front comes through, breaks the cap, we're going to have some pretty strong storms pushing in. Now this is about 4 a.m. Cold front moving in. You can see some strong storms out to the west of us. Those are going to push in. Heavy rainfall, large hail, winds gusting up to 60, 70 miles per hour. So that's going to be our threat as we head into tomorrow. Now our cold front kind of stalls right along I-44, and that is going to cause training storms, bands of rainfall moving northeast and just continually pushing right along the I-44 corridor. That's bringing a secondary flooding risk to the area starting Tuesday and continuing into Thursday morning. So all these storms are just going to go right over I-44 consistently. Now it's 10 p.m. on Tuesday. We've just had consistent rainfall out there south of I-44. That continues all the way through early Thursday morning. And then the rain finally starts to clear out by midday, heading into the weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, finally clearing out. But we've got, potential for hail, potential for strong winds, which I definitely like to go in on this. It can be just as damaging as any tornado can be. And then we also have another flooding risk, and we've seen quite a bit of flooding in the area for the last several weeks.
Yeah, we've got a lot. We definitely don't need a ton of rain. It's nice to get a little bit here and there, but not a lot all at once. Right. It's not going to do any good. All right, thanks, Lindsay. Well, more than 600 pounds of zucchini were given away today in Carterville, Missouri, to make sure good food doesn't go to waste. First Baptist Church of Carterville partnered with Souls Harbor to distribute 31 cases of excess produce to Jasper County residents. The event invited people to bring an ID or a food pantry card to pick up their free zucchini.
Absolutely love it. I've always wanted to have a food pantry that I could, I guess, direct and provide for the community, so now I'm helping.
Organizers say any remaining produce will be donated to local food pantries. Well, coming up, the tariff trade war.
From Wall Street to Main Street, everyone's waiting to see how long the trade war may last. I'm Mark Meredith at the White House. We'll take a closer look at how the administration is reacting as it marks 100 days in office.
The White House teasing new trade agreements could soon be on the way, but on the biggest one of all, China, the two sides still seem to be far apart. And now the prolonged trade war may soon be felt by American workers. Fox News' Mark Meredith has more.
The White House says it's getting closer to new trade deals with dozens of countries.
A lot of our Asian trading partners have really come with their A game and are trying to solve this fairness problem.
But the administration admits it's putting China to the side as it involves a more complex negotiation. Last week, the president said he believed tariffs on China would come down eventually. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent today attempted to calm retailers that may be concerned about a potential drop in inventory.
I assume they pre-ordered. I think we'll see some elasticities. I think we'll see replacements. And then we will see how quickly the Chinese want to de-escalate.
Trump says he has spoken on the phone with Chinese President Xi Jinping, a claim China denies. Officials in Beijing believe the U.S. will blink first.
They make up bargaining chips out of thin air, bully and go back on their words. It's unpopular and is bound to end in failure.
Meanwhile, the economic impact of tariffs is beginning to be felt on U.S. trade hubs. The Port of Long Beach is preparing for a potential 20% drop in volume through the rest of this year. Fewer ships coming in, meaning there's less work to do, potentially putting millions of jobs at risk. The uncertainty weighing heavily on the minds of some business owners.
Pretty difficult because, from doing multiple loads, we're going to like one load a week per truck, and that's it.
The World Trade Organization estimates a prolonged trade war between the U.S. and China could result in an 80% drop in business between those two countries alone. At the White House, Mark Meredith, Fox News.
Up next, Carthage Little Leaguers hit the field tonight to kick off a new season of baseball and community pride.
Is there a way to remove the center divider and it transforms into a large 25-quart capacity?
We'll have to give him crap that he put a black frame in his video. He's a Carthage City Councilman, whoever he is. The Carthage Little League opened its 2025 season this evening with a ceremony at Fair Acres Sports Complex. The event featured team recognitions, a flag raising, and a ceremonial first pitch by Dr. Tom Barlow, a former principal of Studley Elementary and current Carthage City Council member. The ceremony set the tone for a season filled with teamwork and community spirit. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. Cardinals are preparing to choose a new pope and what people hope for the future of the church. Vladimir Putin calls for a ceasefire in Ukraine, but not right away. Why some say it's too little, too late, and what a final peace deal could look like.
You're watching the 4 States Most Watched News.
This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. The conclave date is set. The Sistine Chapel is sealed and preparations are underway for the meeting that will pick the next pope. Alex Hogan is at the Vatican with more from Rome.
I thought that was really amazing. It's really humbling to be able to be here.
More than 70,000 people visited the Pope's tomb on Sunday, a day after he was laid to rest at St. Mary Major Basilica. And now we're learning more about the process to replace him. The Sistine Chapel has been sealed off, and cardinals announced Monday that the conclave will begin on May 7th. Some are already pushing for candidates from their own backyards.
Even if we get a good number of votes for a person from Africa, it would be a good sign. But that's where the church is quite vigorous and growing all the time.
But there's also a growing ideological divide. Some conservatives want to refocus the church back to its core principles. But a growing number of cardinals have said they're hoping for a pope that would carry on Francis's work with the poor and marginalized communities.
It's completely clear that we must continue on this path. I think the entire world has this intention. He doesn't need to be the same as Francis, but not lose the path that Francis started.
And that's a view shared by most of the visitors to St. Peter's and the Pope's tomb at St. Mary Major. Many say it's a bittersweet experience, but they have faith church leaders will make the right choice.
It's a mixed emotion. It's sad that we don't get popes like this very often. And we hope that the next pope will continue the same as he has done.
Cardinals say once the conclave starts, they're hoping for a decision within 2 to 3 days. In Rome, Alex Hogan, Fox News.
Well, Canadians vote today in their federal election with U.S. tariffs and comments from former President Trump shaping the race. Voters pick lawmakers, and the party with the most seats chooses the prime minister. Current Prime Minister Mark Carney of the Liberal Party faces Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre. The surge in Canadian nationalism, fueled by Trump's tariffs and suggestions Canada join the U.S., has boosted Liberal support. Now, Trump also posted to Truth Social, urging Canadians to elect a leader who will, quote, cut taxes in half. Results are expected later tonight or tomorrow morning. Well, Russian President Vladimir Putin declares a 3-day ceasefire with Ukraine as President Trump wants to see it made permanent. Fox's Caroline Shively reports from Washington.
Russian President Vladimir Putin is calling for a 3-day ceasefire in Ukraine, but not for another 10 days. Putin declared May 8th should begin a 72-hour pause to mark a major holiday celebrating the Soviet victory in World War II.
It is a critical week because we're running out of patience. And I think what it really comes down to, do both sides really want a peace deal?
Ukrainians say if Putin wants to stop the attacks, he should do it immediately. Ukraine has accepted U.S. calls for a 30-day stop to the fighting, something Putin has rejected.
The president has made it clear he wants to see a permanent ceasefire, first to stop the killing, stop the bloodshed.
President Trump met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky while both men were at the Vatican for the Pope's funeral over the weekend. Trump administration officials have touted the short meeting as a success, but are floating the idea that a final deal will leave some Ukrainian territory in Russian hands.
We need to be grown-ups and realistic here. In any negotiated end to a war,
Both sides get something, and both sides have to give something up.
He sent a very clear message to Vladimir Putin. You hold out long enough, I'm going to walk away from Ukraine, and it's all yours.
On Monday, Ukraine's foreign ministry said the country wants a minerals deal with the U.S. signed as soon as possible, one of the key demands that Trump has made of Zelensky. In Washington, Caroline Shively, Fox News.
Well, Lindsay's next with a complete look at your forecast, and later, American-made furniture.
Welcome to the biggest furniture trade show in the country, High Point Market, where some folks are getting helped and some folks are getting hurt by Trump's tariffs. We'll have the details. I'm Jerry Willis from Fox Business.
Well, we have severe weather potential tonight through tomorrow. Let's go ahead and take a look outside at our current radar. Quite a few severe thunderstorm warnings up along the plains. You can see we even have a tornado, looks like on the ground up there. We did at least on that cold front. Now we have two different forcings going on. Southern plains, central southern plains, we have a dry line that's pushing in those storms, firing up the storms all in Kansas City. But then we also have a couple of isolated supercells down there, southern parts of Oklahoma, that are caused by the dry line forcing as well. Now our threat is really holding off until this cold front pushes in. Right now, we've got a cap over our atmosphere, which means we have that lid that blocks any severe weather from really firing up. But this cold front is going to be enough forcing to get some stuff going in our area. Now, it's going to start to push in. There you can kind of see where the clouds move. Let's wait till it restarts. Kind of see where the clouds are moving and where that little green faint line pushes in. That's our cold front. So it's getting closer to the area, but right now we're still dealing with mostly cloudy skies out there. Pretty windy though. You can see downtown Joplin area, overcast skies, windy. That's what we're going to be dealing with tonight. Now, as we get a little bit later into the evening and into early tomorrow, you can see how that cold front really fires up once it gets closer to our area. It's about 1 a.m. Starting to see some showers pushing into the Yates Center area, 1 to 2 a.m. But storms really fire off after about 3 a.m. You can see out south of Wichita, right along Kansas and Oklahoma border. It's going to be pushing into our area along that cold front. Now, the cold front's already passed, and if any of these storms develop ahead of it, that's where we could see potential tornado threat. But if it doesn't, if those storms develop right north of the front, then they're mostly going to be elevated storms bringing a hail threat and a wind threat. But it does push in, continuing to push in through the morning hours, 5 to 9 a.m. You can see it starting to spread across the entire 4 states region. And then cold front settles right along I-44, actually stalls out for most of the day on Tuesday and into Wednesday. It's just about 11 a.m. Widespread thunderstorms across the area. Those are going to push up to the northeast, but we have more thunderstorms that are just going to be continually pushing up to the northeast along I-44, along that cold front. That continues well into Tuesday night. Here we go, 10 p.m. More widespread thunderstorms along the I-44 corridor and south. Those are going to continue well into Wednesday as well. Pretty scattered thunderstorms along I-44, and it brings us to having 2 to 5 inches of rainfall right along the I-44 corridor. You can see Veneta 5 inches, Miami about the same, Joplin 4.5 inches of rain, Pittsburgh about 3 inches of rain. So we're getting quite a bit of a flooding threat. Now, we do have a flood watch in effect Tuesday morning until Thursday morning. So all of these storms are going to cause those flooding threats, heavy rainfall. But we want to keep an eye on Tuesday morning and Tuesday evening. We could have secondary severe threats, hail, wind. So, we do have a lot going on, especially tomorrow throughout most of the day. And then after tomorrow night, we're dropping down to mostly just a flooding threat through Thursday.
Yeah, I feel like we always have that flooding threat after our storms come through this area. It's
That's how, this season's been going. A lot of rainfall this season.
And then we get to say, turn around, don't drown.
Yes.
Be safe. All right, thanks, Lindsay. Well, coming up in sports, a Missouri Southern Lion gets invited to an NFL rookie mini camp. Plus, Pitt State softball standout Heather Arnett catches up with Ben McLeish ahead of the Gorillas' postseason run. Those stories and more are up next.
Pittsburgh State softball prepares for its opening matchup in the MIAA tournament on Thursday. But before the postseason gets started, KOAM sports reporter Ben McLeish catches up with the Gorillas' star shortstop Heather Arnett. right on her home turf.
We all want to know the person behind our favorite athlete. But to understand the person, you've got to know the player. That's why here at KOAM, we interviewed the 4 states' top athletes inside the lines.
My name's Heather Arnett. I'm from Pittsburgh, Kansas. I'm a junior, and I play shortstop for Pitt State softball.
Last year, Arnett was a Gold Glove center fielder for the Gorillas. This year, she's playing her natural position, and she makes it look easy. But from my experience, it's a lot harder than it looks. The Gorillas search for their first ever national championship this year, but Arnett already knows what it takes to be a champion. She won 2 state titles with Frontenac High School.
That final out that you make, you all run together, you find somebody, you hug, you jump. It's a pretty incredible feeling that not a lot of people get to experience.
Arnett does a lot more than just play defense. She's racked up over 90 steals the past 2 seasons. And while she gracefully runs from first to third in a matter of seconds, I need to speed up my attempt just to match her pace. But arguably the most impressive part of Arnett's game is when she's at the plate. This year, she became the all-time hits leader at Pitt State.
I didn't even know that I was going to break these records. I'm just the same player that I've always been. Now that I know that I'm the all-time hits holder at Pitt State, I'd like to get the MIAA one.
And while it took me 10 swings just to make solid contact with the ball, well, it's safe to say Arnett is a natural. Ben McLeish, KOAM Sports.
Arnett and the Gorillas take on the winner of Nebraska Kearney and Missouri Western in the quarterfinals of the MIAA tournament on Thursday. Meanwhile, Missouri Southern's Deontay Campbell is getting his shot at making his NFL dream come true. He has reportedly been invited to the Cleveland Browns rookie minicamp. Campbell spent 3 years at Southern, one of them as a redshirt in 2022. In each of the following 2 seasons, Campbell received all MIAA honors at tight end, while hauling in 63 receptions for just under 800 yards and 10 touchdowns. The same is true for former Chanute High School quarterback and safety Ty Bowman. He graduated from CHS in 2020, then played college football at Kansas State. And this weekend, Bowman receives an invite to the Denver Broncos rookie minicamp. Bowman switched to wide receiver during his time at KSU. He began as a walk-on, then by his senior year played in all 13 games for the Wildcats, including 2 starts. That's it for sports. We're back right after this.
American furniture makers warn calls to increase domestic production to avoid tariffs for imports from China is easier said than done. Fox Business correspondent Jerry Willis has more from the High Point Market Furniture Trade Show in North Carolina.
We're at the biggest and oldest furniture trade show in the country, High Point Market. And everybody here, the 75,000 retailers, interior designers, they're talking about trade and tariffs. Joining me now, Wyatt Bassett. He's CEO of Von Bassett. Wyatt, you have an incredible line of American-made bedding, all kinds of bedding furniture. Talk to us about the importance of the American-made product and what it means that Donald Trump is putting in place very high tariffs on China. Will that help you?
It does. We got calls the day after the tariffs got announced. Since we've been here in High Point, we're seeing a lot more retailers. Everybody's asking for the same thing, which is they want to see more American-made product.
That's good news, of course. Now, one big question people ask you, you've told me this, they ask, is all of this 100% American-made? And the answer to that question is, well, not really. Tell us about it.
We have a woodworking factory. We make wooden furniture, so all the wooden parts we make ourselves in our factories. We're not a metal worker, so things like the decorative hardware, the drawer guides, the ball bearing guides underneath, we do have to source those. Those parts account for about 3 to 5%. We make 95%.
I love those guides. That's really nice. So do you think, though, that you're actually going to see a lot better business going forward? And do you think that Trump's policies can bring North Carolina back to the forefront of furniture making around the world?
Well, we've seen an effect already in interest and in orders. North Carolina and High Point has been the center of furniture for the United States and even in the world for decades, up until about 20 years ago, and it absolutely can be again.
That's very good news. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Thanks for having us in your showroom. And as I send it back, I just want to say, hey, look, this is an industry that seems to be undergoing a revitalization, but understand that not all of these manufacturers are happy about this tariff policy. Why? Because they source a lot of goods out of Asia and China specifically.
From Paddington in Peru to Eric Church and Josh Groban, we've got a rundown of this week's new digital DVD and music releases. That's coming up after the break. An Oscar-winning drama, A Beloved Bear on a Wild Adventure, and chart-topping music stars are among the new digital DVD and music releases available to add to your home library. Fox's Ashley Dvorkin runs down the list of what's new in home entertainment.
Like Cinderella. Yes, Cinderella.
Five-time Oscar winner Honora tops this week's home entertainment releases. The drama tells the story of a Brooklyn sex worker whose whirlwind marriage to a Russian oligarch's son spirals when his powerful family intervenes.
Paddington, there's a letter from Peru.
The live-action adventure Paddington in Peru follows the beloved bear and the Brown family on a journey through the Amazon rainforest in search of his aunt.
Your umbilical, it's gonna snap. I will come back for you.
Woody Harrelson and Simu Liu dive into danger in The Last Breath, the real-life story about a high-stakes underwater rescue mission hundreds of feet below sea level.
I wish I could enjoy anything as much as my son enjoys everything.
The book-to-screen adaptation The Unbreakable Boy stars Zachary Levi and Megan Fahey. Based on a true story, the film follows a boy with autism and a rare brittle bone disease whose positive spirit touches everyone around him.
999, what's your emergency?
Are you kidding me? In the action thriller Cleaner, Daisy Ridley plays an ex-soldier turned window cleaner facing off with eco-terrorists in order to save 300 hostages, including her brother.
What are you doing in my space station?
Small screen favorites to own, the sci-fi action TV movie Star Trek Section 31, starring Michelle Yeoh, and Season 2 of Mayfair Witches with Alexandra Daddario. For music fans, country singer Eric Church delivers Evangeline versus the Machine. Female country duo Maddie and Tay released their fourth album, Love and Light. And Josh Groban's career-spanning collection Gems features his greatest hits alongside two new songs, Open Hands and Be All Right.
You raise me up.
In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
And that's our time for tonight. Thank you for joining us. We're going to leave you with video of lemur siblings wrestling at the Oakland Zoo. Have a great night and an even better tomorrow.